What's up, y'all? One Piece One Life here, and guys, have y'all ever noticed Fujitora is like a really interesting character? Now, while there are tons of reasons to like him, like, his amazing fit, his sword skills, his powerful devil fruit, and if you're into this, his gambling habit. Don't gamble, kids. The thing that probably stands out the most about Fujitora is just his overall demeanor. That is to say, it's the kind, caring, compassionate, altruistic individual that will go so far as to admit the Navy's own fault during the Dressrosa incident. We know that Fujitora is such an upstanding guy that when he saw all the evils of the world, he literally chose to blind himself so that he wouldn't have to see them again. I mean, in Dressrosa, he goes as far as saying not having sight was a blessing. Now, when Fujitora talks about the evils that he had seen, it's usually generalized just in terms of the evil, the corruption of the world, which we know exists. But I can't help but think there must have been that one catalyst event that was so dire that it made Fujitora feel like the only way he could cope in this world was to literally blind himself. And you know what I think it may be? Kaido and Orochi's treatment of Oden, and then just overall the land of Wano's downfall at Orochi's hand. After looking back at everything, I have some interesting evidence to bring up, and it's what I believe. I think at the end of this video, you may too. But before we get into it, guys, please, y'all know the drill. Like the page, subscribe to the channel for more One Piece content just like this, and share it around with all your friends who love One Piece. Let's get it going. Now, for this theory to make sense, as in the theory of why Orochi and Kaido are the reason that Fujitora blinded himself, you have to kind of accept a prior or more mini theory, which is just the thought that Fujitora comes from the land of Wano. I mean, this has been going on in the community for who knows how long now. I know I'm not the first person to say this. I mean, just look at him. He's a skilled swordsman who seemingly trained as a samurai and who wears clothes that would otherwise be befitting of, people from the land of Wano. Oh, and we would know a lot about the land of Wano's clothing. We just came from there. Traditional style Japanese clothing with the gis and the kimonos and all that. So this is where the theory starts. Fujitora is currently 54 years old. So 26 years ago, when the Beast Pirates first arrived on Wano, Fujitora would have been 28 years old. Now, I do think he was a samurai fighting, generally for the side of good. Maybe not directly the Kozuki clan, maybe not a direct retainer, but as long as he was generally on the right side, I think that's the side that he'd pick. Maybe he was just a powerful, benevolent swordsman wandering around Wano, or just more located in another region. So as Orochi was slowly but surely degrading Wano time over the years, Fujitora, obviously seeing that this was a horrible thing happen, but also knowing that he doesn't have the power to take on the entire system himself, at least kept hope that when Oden returned, things would change. Because remember, by this time, Oden was out sailing with the Roger Pirates. So then Oden came back, and unbeknownst to literally everyone else, there was the 5-year deal between Oden and Orochi. Orochi said, "All right, Oden, dance in the streets like a fool for 5 years, and then I'll leave Wano and, let it flourish again." Oden said, "Bet." Orochi went back on his word. So around that instance, which was around 20 years ago, which was when Orochi went back on the deal, Oden got so mad that he went off to fight Kaido with his retainers, lost, and then was eventually killed. I think that is the moment when Fujitora realized the system is against me. There's no proper justice system in this world. So when Oden lost to Kaido, Isho knew that there wasn't anything he could do personally to change anything at this moment, so he attempted to leave Wano country before Kaido properly closed it off. I imagine it's around this time that as he left Wano, he blinded himself and scarred himself, saying that if a country's own leader could be so ruthless to blatantly not care about the people as much as Orochi did, then there must not be justice in this world, unless he takes justice into his own hands, of course. So then after that, I imagine that Fujitora was probably just wandering around, training up his power, getting sword skills, whether he got his devil fruit from after he joined the Marines or before, that's up for debate, but regardless, he was honing his strength. I imagine that somewhere around this time is when he met Akainu and Akainu recognized his strength. I think this because when I think about it, the only way for Fujitora to have been like drafted in the draft and then picked to be skipped all the way to the admiral position, Akainu must have known he must have had some inkling about his strength, even if it wasn't 100%, oh, I know Isho personally, I can vouch for him. There must have been some event or just some rumor, something about Isho training during that time where it said, everyone knows this guy has the skills to pay the bills. Everyone knows that he's strong, and if he joins the Marines, we don't have to worry about the admiral position. Because think about it too, you would think that if a better candidate were, in the Marines, they would have just promoted, or even if there wasn't, they would have just promoted a vice admiral and found a Dofru for them, or even given it to Momo Usagi or Chaton, one of the actual admiral candidates who are now just, I guess, vice admirals or whatever. That's besides the point. And just because I know the comments might blow up about it, just remember that the point of the military draft wasn't specifically to find the admirals. It was just a general world draft of new troops, and admiral candidates, being Fujitora and Greenbow, just happened to be part of the draft and got picked. Anyways, like I said, after he joined the Marines and became an admiral, maybe when they gave him the Zushi no Mi, maybe he ate the Zushi no Mi before joining. That doesn't change the fact that everyone knows now Fujitora is not to be messed with. After that, the first time we hear Fujitora is when Akainu was talking about who to send to Dressrosa, and we meet him on Dressrosa, and we know the story from there. Now, the big major plus for this theory goes to when you think about who Fujitora is based on. In case you didn't know, Oda bases all of the admirals off of famous Japanese, old film actors. Like, for example, Akainu is based off of Bunta Sugawara, and Kizaru is based off of Kunie Tanaka. Fujitora is no different, with him being based on Shintaro Katsu, but more specifically, a character he plays by the name of Zatoichi. Now, in the titular series, Zatoichi is a blind, gambling swordsman with a heart of justice. Sound like anybody you know? There's 26 movies in the franchise, but the common thread amongst all of them is that Zatoichi is known to be a wanderer, or what's known in Japanese culture as a ronin, so a wandering samurai. He doesn't really have a single HQ, he just goes around training his skills and helping those in need when he sees it. So given the parallel between these two characters, if we do agree that Oda is taking inspiration from Zatoichi and using that as a basis for Fujitora's character, then it would make a lot of sense for Fujitora to have left his home and just wandered around for a long time, gaining strength before officially joining the military force. Now, I know the major plot hole that most people are going to bring up.
Oh, we were in Wano for so long, so there's no way that not one person would mention that one of the current admirals comes from this place. There's no way that Greenbow wouldn't mention it in passing when he fought the retainers.
Well, we can't really say no one did. I mean, we may just not have heard it. How do we know that that's something Ryokugi wasn't thinking, that just wasn't said out loud? Maybe that just wasn't something Oda wanted to put in, but I don't think that necessarily means it's not possible. As y'all know, the absence of something doesn't mean the presence of another thing. But also, all the people that the Straw Hats were around, and therefore we were around, have no context. The only Wano citizens who I can remember having met Fujitora during the Dressrosa arc, even potentially, were Kinemon, maybe Momo, and potentially Kanjuro. Even then, they were all flung 20 years into the future. So they wouldn't just happen to recognize him just like that, even if they did know him before. Not only that, but Wano has been isolated for so long that news doesn't really get to them that easily. So, of course, I wouldn't be so surprised to think that news of one of their countrymen becoming one of the admirals is gonna spread like wildfire, or doesn't even get there. So because of the fact that news doesn't go there in the first place, the fact that Fujitora even became an admiral may not have just been a widespread thing, at least as far as Wano's concerned. Now, another problem that people may bring up is the fact that when they think about what caused Fujitora to blind his eyes, they don't think that it's pirate related, but rather something relating to the Marines or the world government. My counterpoint to that would be, why would Fujitora, knowing for a fact that the world government and the Marines are corrupt, still join up with the organization anyway? That's not at all in line with his character. Because he was in the world draft and got picked for the admiral position, meaning that he skipped all of the other positions directly to become an admiral, we know that before that point, he was definitely strong on his own. Meaning that if he was, and he knew that bad was coming from the side of the world government, he could have just continued doing good on his own. I mean, it's not like there haven't been people who have just done that before on their own. I mean, especially from his country. Looking at you, Ryuma. Side note, go watch Monsters, guys, on Netflix. It was a great experience and is canon now, apparently, so yeah. In addition, I don't think it makes much sense that Fujitora knew what was going on or knew the true inner workings of the world government just based off of the way that he acted on Dressrosa. I mean, yeah, he already didn't like the warlord system, but he was obedient, or at least to that extent, would listen to the world government. When you go back and look at Fujitora during the Dressrosa arc, especially the chapters after the truth is revealed, Sugar is knocked out, and Doflamingo activates the birdcage, Fujitora is genuinely like, or at least from the way that it's drawn, seems shocked. Like, the horribleness is making him think, I can't believe that we as the world government have let you down so badly that this is what it's come to. Which is why at the end of the arc, he issues the formal apology to King Riku as an admiral, bending down and bowing his head because of this is how severe it is to him. I don't think somebody who would have known about this earlier would have acted like that, especially when you consider the kinds of people that Akainu and Kizaru are. So that's the theory, guys. That's why I think that Fujitora comes from Wano, and why Fujitora blinded himself had something to do with Kaido, Orochi, and the whole just Wano situation. Now, like I said, I know I'm not the first person to have a similar theory, something like that, something especially, I know is scrap. I especially know I'm not the first person to say Fujitora comes from Wano, but I'm hoping that I'm the first person to at least bridge the gap between some of these, different connections. But what do you think about the possibilities of Fujitora being from Wano? What about what made him blind himself? You think it's something else, world government related maybe? Let me know in the comments. Well, that's the end of the video, guys. Now, please, y'all already know what I'm about to say. Like the video, subscribe to the page for more One Piece content just like this. Share the video around with all your friends who love One Piece. Remember, I'm trying to build a community, but I need your help to do it. That'll be all from me, guys. I'll talk to y'all next week, and always remember, One Piece, one life. Wow. I mean, when you think about it, Fujitora really saw what's going on with the Dressrosa situation and immediately moved to get the warlords abolished, and it immediately did. I don't know about y'all, to me that's the definition of standing on business.